get my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8, feeling great.
Hello and welcome back to Beyond Your Wildest Genes podcast. My name is Dr. Noah DeCoyer and I am your co-host. Today our guest is Dr. Anthony Balduzzi. Hey Doc, how are you today?
Really happy to be here, Doc. Talk to talk, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Good to be here, Noah.
I hear you. And listen, I'm going to do your bio and then we're going to dive into some great content. Does that sound okay?
Sounds great.
All right. Dr. Anthony is a health, weight loss, peak performance, and muscle building expert exclusively for accomplished entrepreneurs and busy fathers over 40. And that resonates with me, Doc, because I'm 42. After watching his own dad lose his health and pass away at a young age of 42, holy mackerel, Dr. Anthony founded the Fit Father Project and Peak Performance Prescription to help other busy people get and stay permanently healthy for their families. Dr. Anthony holds dual degrees in Nutrition and Neuroscience from the University of Pennsylvania, a doctorate in Naturopathic Medicine, and is also a national champion bodybuilder. His most proud fact is that he has helped over 10,000 fathers lose over 75,000 pounds of fat with his work at the Fit Father Project. So, you know, that bio really resonates with me, Doc, because I lost my mother at 52. So I understand what it's like to lose a parent at an extraordinarily young age. So I could see how that could have shaped who you are today. And let's start there. If I was to ask you to flesh your bio out a little bit, what would you say?
I would say that my entire life and my passion for helping my friends, my family, and everyone I come in contact with live healthier came from those early experiences of watching my own dad basically lose his. And I think my dad is like a lot of people out there, you know, fathers and mothers who basically are working themselves to the bone to take care of their families. And in the process of working those long hours, you know, handling a promotion at work and all this stuff, Dad just basically stopped taking care of himself. And, you know, I watched him, you know, gain weight. He stopped eating healthy, you know, stopped exercising. And when I was very young, that was something that I used to love watching my dad do is see him exercise in the gym. I used to love hanging out with him, and all that basically stuff kind of stopped. And he ended up getting diagnosed with terminal brain cancer, and he passed away. And I was 9 at the time. My little brother was 6. And from that moment, it completely changed my relationship to the understanding of how important health and fitness is for every single facet of our lives, because it's really easy to lose sight of the fact that when we do lose our health and where we're not operating in an optimal state, everything else we love in life that we're working so hard for begins to slip as well. So I've been, I guess, a man on a mission from a very young age. You know, when initially after Dad passed, I wanted to become a sponge. I wanted to learn every single thing I could possibly learn about nutrition, exercise, healthy living, because in my 10-year-old mind, I wanted to become so strong that, you know, cancer wouldn't affect me because I had to take care of my mom, my little brother. And eventually the seeds of that mission blossomed into what I work on now is, you know, the Fit Father Project, Peak Performance Prescription, and just all these avenues where I'm just trying to provide support for amazing people that, you know, that want to live healthier, that want to live their best, want to take care of their families and look and feel good while they're doing it.
Amen, my friend. So since your passion lies here in helping men and fathers, entrepreneurs, let's focus and dial in here. That being said, what reoccurring themes do you see in this segment of the population?
In one word, like one phrase I could say is I just don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. Like so many of us are stretched so thin with all of life's responsibilities that often the thing that gets put on the back burner is the health, fitness, exercise, nutrition routines. So a large part of the work that I do, whether it's the Fit Father Project or whether it's with busy entrepreneurs, is helping them build simple and sustainable eating and exercise solutions to have routines that run on autopilot so they don't take a ton of time. And in fact, they give you more time because this stuff is kind of, you have an automated system. So without systems and routines, you know, health and fitness becomes something that either remains in that corner of your life that, you know, I'll get to it later, or ends up being something that is, you know, stressful or takes more time. So we need to have structures and routines. And for the listeners here on this podcast, those that are probably like, well, I am in good shape and I do eat healthy and I do exercise, obviously you can reflect and say it's because you have the right habits in place. And so a large part of what I do is really, help people address the I don't have enough time by installing those health operating systems, if you will, that make the high leverage health habits around nutrition, exercise, sleep, and mindset, pretty automated.
Well, I have to bring this up because it's probably what you see nearly every day. And I'm going to use myself as an example. I'm 42, like I said. I'd like to think I look, act, and have those habits that you mentioned. And all the tests I've done over the years generally have come back very positively. Blood work, but until recently, I've had an iron absorption problem. My thyroid numbers have gotten a little wonky, and I'm working with a functional medicine doctor myself. So for my audience, I take this stuff seriously. And then I decided to do a telomere test to see what the length of my telomeres were. And I was absolutely shocked, Doc, to find out the length of my telomeres were of a 61-year-old.
Oh, man.
This is a person that I think I take care of myself. And then you start looking at it and dialing back and seeing what you're doing or how you're acting or how you're thinking that doesn't align with these healthy habits. What would you say to me, or what would you say if I was your patient or a person describing this to you?
Well, I mean, so we'll look at the telomere thing first, because I think that's very interesting, and it's something specific that you brought up is for those that aren't necessarily familiar, telomeres are parts of the end caps of basically DNA that is predictive of how long you're going to live. It's kind of like that the burning the wick on a candle, and as telomeres and cells divide and telomeres get shorter, you are going to get to a point where you kind of fizzle out too, right? And so we want to maximize telomere length. And so what I would look at is if it's shorter than it should be predicted for your age, what are we doing to burn that down? And it's often going to be some kinds of, maybe, stressors, oxidative damage. And there's going to be some stuff that we could look at in your lifestyle to why your wick is burning so fast and so hard. And for most people that I work with, there's always more that we can do on the sleep recovery and rejuvenation side of things that is so important and overlooked. I think a lot of us want to live a very productive, high-performing life. And this is me actually this is a confession too. We want to run like this high performance life. So we run very fast. We run our bodies very fast, and we feel that we are doing a good job with the fuel. And we're not necessarily resting enough to recover. So maybe there are things that we could look at with matching your fuel and your recovery intake specifically for your body, for your nutrigenomics to help support, healthy telomere length. Maybe there's stuff that we could do with your sleep and recovery to make sure that, you are giving your body a chance to rest. And stress is something that's absolutely going to impact lifespan, even if you're doing healthy habits. So those are some of the first kind of higher level mind frames that I would start to look at to approach this kind of problem, and then we'd whittle down to the specifics. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And you know what? For me, ultimately, that's what it is. It's sleep. Since I had my children, I have a 12-year-old and a 7-year-old. My sleep has gone through in the tank. So 12 years of not sleeping properly have dramatically impacted. And it didn't show. It took a long time to show up as outward symptoms, like all disease does. But that's where I'm at now, and I'm sure, as you just outlined, that's what you see on a regular daily basis.
Totally. I think a lot of guys come to us, men in particular, through doc, I want to lose weight. I want to lose those 45 pounds. I want to increase my energy. And the first place we start is not diet and exercise. We always start with sleep and mindset. And I just wanted to reiterate that because I think that this is a good chance for us to really all reaffirm how important sleep and recovery is for all the important health changes that we want. Because, you can't out-exercise a bad diet, and you certainly can't, do a really hardcore diet or hardcore exercise and see the results you want if your body's in a chronically low-level stress state because you're not sleeping or recovering enough. So sleep optimization is the foundation of every single thing that I do. And the thing is, it's often overlooked because it's the simple stuff. It's not as sexy as really looking at, complicated, nutrient combinations and maybe meal timings and new cool workout programs. Sleep's like the basic stuff, and we often tend to gloss over that.
I agree. So if we just dial in on sleep, what are some of your tried and true recommendations to have a better night's sleep?
Well, I think the first thing is for us to really understand that we are biocircadian, beings. And I know we all have heard of circadian rhythms before, but I think that a lot of the new research is coming out just showing how biologically hardwired our bodies are with clocks, right? Obviously, we have in the morning, we have, cortisol is rising naturally to wake us up. And at night, as the light goes down and the sun's going down, melatonin is increasing in our brains. It's starting to wind us down at night. So the first thing that I work on is really helping people establish a very structured wake-sleep rhythm. So that means creating a very structured bedtime, and then also optimizing the brain's functioning of its natural circuitry with some of these wakefulness and sleep hormones. And what I think a lot of people don't realize is the importance of actually getting the right amounts of natural light, sunlight, into your eyes early in the morning for helping your brain maintain a circadian clock. A lot of us are working lives where we're in front of computers or we're in offices and we're not outside and we're not connected to the earth and we're not looking into the sun, and realize that our bodies were developed and designed in harmony with nature. And a lot of the ways that we actually maintain circadian rhythm and good sleep is by seeing AM sunshine and seeing the sun go down later in the day. So if we're disconnected from nature, which a lot of us are these days, a good easy habit is in the morning, first thing in the morning when you get out, you rehydrate, you get your water, do whatever you do in the morning, is to go outside and get a little morning sunshine. Obviously, you get the benefits of the vitamin D, but also the sun actually hitting your retina. There's some really cool new research that shows that helps maintain your circadian clock a lot better. The next thing we're going to look at is getting rid of a lot of this artificial blue light later in the day. So screens, whether they're phones or computers, emit certain spectrums of light, and they emit a lot of a certain type of light called blue light. And blue light has a unique property in that it can selectively damage our brain's ability to produce melatonin. And melatonin is, a lot of people have seen that as a supplement, but it's something that our brains make naturally to help decrease, relax us at night and prepare our bodies for sleep and rejuvenation and de-stressing. And so as the sun goes down and our eyes sense that there's lower light, we secrete melatonin. The problem is we're looking at computer screens all the time, and that totally disrupts melatonin. So what I would also do is do some good sleep hygiene stuff throughout the day. Make sure that we have blue light blocking software on our computers, blue light blocking software on our phones. iPhones now have that night shift mode and other things like that. And then at night, we would also do some environmental tweaks to your bedroom to really optimize things for sleep. So our bodies like to sleep in cooler temperatures. If the room is too hot, to our bodies, heat kind of signals like metabolic activity, and it doesn't really allow our bodies to go into a deep, restful sleep. So research shows that people sleep best around the high 60s degree Fahrenheit, kind of temperature. So somewhere cool the room down, and let's get rid of all light in the room. If you can't get blackout curtains, you can get a face mask and some earplugs. But basically, let's get all this sensory information that we're bombarded with out at night. And I think the perfect plan would be AM sunshine, blue blocking technology throughout the day, a very cool a cool room with not a lot of flashing lights or anything like that, where you could use maybe some earplugs and a face mask. And I think those are some things that would really start to help improve sleep. But there's also a lot of habits around what time we can set regimented bedtimes around. Your sleep is never going to be optimal if you're going to bed at 10:30 p.m. some days and 1 a.m. some days. Your body is constantly guessing. And if you're keeping your body guessing, what time you're going to bed, what time you're waking up, and you don't have a concrete rhythm, you're never really going to feel amazing. So, there's something to be said about a structured time schedule rhythm too. So that's a lot. I'll pause there for a second because hopefully there are some nuggets that people can take out of there to start thinking and reflecting on their own sleep routines and how they might optimize.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we talk about, and we're 100% aligned. But let me be devil's advocate. But
Okay, hit me.
but my kids' soccer games finish at 10 o'clock. I go to my yoga or my CrossFit box at 5 or 6 in the morning, few days a week. Then the rest of the weeks I'm getting home at 7 o'clock and I can get to bed at 8:30, and it's impossible for me to get a real steady rhythm. What do you say?
Mm. I say that the goal is not perfection. It's as close to an ideal goalpost as possible. And I still, I would devil's advocate to your devil's advocate that in any given routine, no matter how hectic, we can still find that semblance thread of some kind of structure. And like I get it, some Wednesday nights you're going to have to take the kids to soccer and it ends at 10 p.m. and you're not going to be able to make your normal 10:30 p.m. bedtime. That's okay. But understanding and even cognitively understanding that you have a structure set routine that you're aiming for is going to keep you more consistent over the long run. And this is a habits game. So I do get that. There will be times when you can't go perfectly to bed, but I still think there is a golden thread of structure that we can hit most of the time. And listen, on the weekends, if we do need to sleep in and catch up on some of that stuff, that's great too. I think that we're at a point where most of us, in terms of actual biological health, could benefit from slowing down more and resting more and putting a little less on our plates. I'm not going to say this is what we're going to do, but as a guy like you, Noah, you're an incredibly healthy guy, but you're also seeing the toll of what's happening on, an actual genetic level,
Right.
with not necessarily having enough time for rest and relaxation.
I agree. Now, one other question on sleep. Does when you eat affect your sleep? Like, should you eat 2 hours before you go to bed, 3 hours before you go to bed? Obviously we don't want to eat right before we go to bed, but is there some sort of generic kind of time or multiple hours before that's best to eat?
Totally. Yeah. There's actually some really cool stuff you can do with food and nutrition at night to help your body sleep better. So it's usually for most people not a good idea to eat a huge meal right before you're going to bed. However, that being said, food is one of the best ways that we can shift our nervous system out of the sympathetic, very active, coffee-driven, caffeine-fueled kind of, that state that we're all very familiar with, to a parasympathetic rest, digest, recovery mode. The parasympathetic nervous system, one of its main functions is to fuel digestion and to assimilate nutrients. So having a nice meal, a nice sized meal, a little bit of a bigger meal later in the day is a great way to kind of calm the body and relax things down and shift your body into a digestion mode. And this is where I think we were taught a very, at least what was preached when I was growing up was that, breakfast was the most important meal of the day and we should have a huge, carb-laden breakfast. And we kind of figured out that you don't necessarily have to do that. And there's also some detriments to having big meals early in the day, like the blood sugar swings, all the digestive stress from doing that things. What I'm going to posit is that there's actually benefit to having a bigger meal with some healthy carbohydrates that work well with your body later in the day. Because carbs are very unique in that they're not just, stored in muscles and liver and in fat cells as energy. They also have a profound impact on our brain's neurochemistry, and particularly around serotonin and dopamine. And carbs can actually increase serotonin levels, which can kind of give us that, that a little more relaxed, nice kind of feeling at night that can help wind us down. So what I would recommend is if someone knows that they have a particular kind of carbohydrate, and this is assuming they're not doing a very carb-restricted diet, like a ketogenic diet or very, very carb-restricted, that they do have a meal, let's say around 2.5 hours before bed, that does contain a nice serving of healthy carbohydrates that are gut-friendly, that work with your body, along with some veggies to really just slow down the blood sugar spike of the carbs. And then I think that would be optimal for helping someone sleep well.
Yeah, I know for me personally, I'm not fully ketogenic, but I restrict my carbohydrates pretty regularly and watch the amount of carbs I eat. So I'm fat adapted for sure, but I know for sure that my later meal should have more carbohydrates in it, like some sweet potato or some plantain or
Yes.
something like that. And I know that I get a better night's sleep when I eat those types of things in the evening.
You're spot on. And I think that's the case for most people. I think like if we're throwing down blanket guidelines, most people do better having a much lower carbohydrate diet. And this is, regardless of your macronutrient composition of your diet, earlier in the day, lower carbs. At night, as you're shifting into a little more of a relaxation mode, introduce some good carbs in the amounts that work for your body, and make sure that they're good, non-inflammatory, gut-friendly sources, like you mentioned. Those are usually very safe for most people.
I agree. Now, a while back, maybe 5, 10 minutes ago, you mentioned the term, and I'd like you to just talk about that and explain what that means, because it comes up occasionally on the podcast, but not that often. Can you define and maybe just explain a little bit what nutrigenomics is?
Yeah, so nutrigenomics is an amazingly cool field. It's essentially like the hybrid in the cross section between all the great genetic research, and we've spent so much time sequencing the human genome, and now we have services available commercially where people can you can get your genome sequenced with things like 23andMe, and you can get it processed, and you can figure out what's your genetic profile, those single nucleotide polymorphisms, that the little gene variants that you have, Noah, that makes you different than me, and then we can interface that with nutrition. And we can say, okay, based on your SNPs, those single nucleotide polymorphisms, and just your general genetic makeup, what kind of nutrient composition of a diet will work best for you? What kind of nutrients might you need more of? Okay, so you have a SNP. Maybe the term MTHFR means something to somebody. We don't necessarily have to go down that rabbit hole, but you're going to need you might need some higher amounts of some methylated B vitamins. So nutrigenomics is basically is a precision nutrition based on what your gene profile says, and how can we use that information to tailor nutrition that's going to be specifically good for your body. And I think, if anything, we're moving into the world of personalized medicine. We have a lot of labels that are thrown around, like functional medicine, integrative medicine. In my mind, all of it's getting more integrative and more personal. And I think nutrigenomics is a new field that's really worth exploring, where people can get great information about their actual genetic makeup and what kind of things might be better for their bodies. And I'll ask, have you done some of this testing yourself?
Me, yeah, I did 23andMe and then connected it to Genetic Genie. So I have
Nice.
an idea of some comp and MTHFR and
Yeah.
CBS, and we've had a few people on to talk about those specific gene mutations to kind of get a better handle on those. So yeah, so it's definitely in the forefront of my mind. Shame on me. I've had the 2 tests for my children for about 2 months and still haven't
You haven't processed their data?
but
Yeah.
I have it there. So yeah, I think it's the best thing about this stuff, like the telomere test and 23andMe, is it's no longer cost prohibitive. It's really
Yeah.
reasonably cheap. All you need really is someone to help you decipher that information in a usable way.
Yes, totally. And with some of those SNPs that you just mentioned, by no means am I an expert in these SNPs, but if you know that you have a certain variant of that COMT variant, then you're gonna it would make dramatic differences in the kind of diet that might be best for you, how we can best modulate your dopamine levels, your other catecholamine levels. We would maybe change your nutrient timing based on that, and also taking into account your actual goals. So there's a lot of cool things you can do once you know this information. And I think there's something cool too, and I'm going to say this, there's something cool about feeling like you know something special about your own genetic makeup that gives you more buy-in and motivation into your own health plan. Because there's a lot of things we know we should be doing, but when you have a piece of paper that says, man, like my telomere length, should be 10 years younger than it is, or I have a COMT gene, this variant here, and I need more of this or less of that, it creates a little more salience and emotion around why we should be doing things, which I think can increase motivation and compliance for ourselves as our own health coaches, coaching ourselves through these things. And I think that's incredibly valuable. That's, in my opinion, as valuable as any feedback of a test, is how we can really convince ourselves to have more buy-in, more consistency.
Yeah, I know for me, and I keep using me as an example, but I'm an open book. I don't really mind sharing where I'm at in the stages of my health. For me, that was shocking, my telomere test. So I immediately went out, got an Oura ring, OURA, and started tracking. I didn't track much of my sleep and all these kind of things, and the Oura ring can track everything. So now I'm getting feedback on anytime I want, how many steps I have, how much deep sleep, how much REM, is
Nice.
it a good day to work out, all these kind of things. And that was all brought about a test that, a piece of paper that said, look, you're aging faster than you should. You really got to change some things around a little bit.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so that's exactly my point. That's great.
Now, I guess your main program, I guess, is the Fit Father Project, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, how about explaining that in a little bit more detail?
So essentially, what we've done is we've taken a lot of the generic health and fitness advice out there. Um, you know, eat 6 small meals a day, lift weights, go to the gym, and we've really made all that stuff uh, customized and simple and sustainable for busy guys, particularly men over 40 who are fathers, who have busy families, busy jobs, aging bodies, and we've created a comprehensive program where a man can say, I want to improve my health. They can join online. They can join our big program membership base, and they can run through and lose weight, build muscle, whatever their specific goals are. It's kind of tailored to that. But it's really, as fun as looking at a lot of these, very complicated nutrigenomic genetic profiles and all this stuff. When it really boils down to it, health and fitness, for the most part, is not an information game. It's a habits and behaviors game. And so we've just figured out a very simple way to create structures for men around their meal timing, around simple time efficient workouts, around accountability coaching, basically a program built for busy humans that keeps you on track. I wish I could say that it was more complicated than that, because it's really the simple stuff that works. And we just really designed a system that is very effective for busy guys.
Now, so do you have a brick and mortar office, or is everything you do kind of online consultation, or is it a combination of both?
We have a completely online team. Like our team members are all over the world. And so we support men all over the world. So guys, typically how people find us is, they read articles on our Fit Father Project blog, or, find us on podcasts, et cetera. And they go online and they sign up and they join. And the cool thing about the way we approach things is that we do it completely virtual. Even down to the program delivery, everything is done virtually. But unlike typical like books or DVD, diet books, or like a P90X style DVD, we actually keep you accountable through the process with our coaching and our online software that kind of like gets you to check in and make sure you're going through the action steps and actually implementing the information. So it's a completely online program. And that's what I do on the Fit Father Project side of things. And on the entrepreneurial coaching side of things for entrepreneurs and executives, I do high performance work where I do a lot more of all the nutrigenomic custom plan builds that we just talked about, where my team of coaches and I, we basically design completely custom schedules, nutrition plans, exercise plans, everything for busy entrepreneurs and executives who want to nail specific health goals and just have that automated health operating system that keeps them healthy, whether they're traveling, whether they're, in big business pushes, or just they want to, extend and really focus on longevity. So those are like the two main things I'm focusing on right now.
That's cool. So now as we wind down today, I got a more of a fun question. So what's the day in the life of Dr. Anthony Balduzzi look like from waking to going to sleep?
Nice. Okay. Well, wake up. I'll even be honest, but when I'm great with my schedule, it's 5 a.m. And I get up, I will immediately get the body moving. The first thing I'll do is I will drink 32 ounces of water with some sea salt, and I like to have a little lemon water, and I'll start brewing some green tea. And I'll get my body moving. Sometimes I'll use a vibration plate, a rebounder, something to get my lymphatic system moving. And I have a little morning ritual where I do a couple basic habits, some gratitude journaling, some short meditation, the moving of my body, and some appreciation to reach out to my love of Paige Brown and make sure I give her some love first thing in the morning to maintain that amazing relationship. And then I get to work pretty shortly afterwards. I work because we have so many clients at the Fit Father Project and on my personal coaching side. I work for a vast majority of the day in front of the computer. I have an awesome standing desk, so in between meetings, podcasts, shooting videos, a lot on the computer. I will go to exercise at some point later in the day before dinner. Recently, I've been using a really cool exercise machine called an ARX machine, Are you familiar with those?
I've heard it. I don't know a lot about it.
Okay, so it's cool stuff. I think this is like the future of exercise. These will probably be in everyone's home in like 15 years. It's called adaptive resistance training. It's more or less like a Bowflex with a computer on it, and what it is it's able to dynamically adjust the weight that you're lifting during each individual rep. So, where if you're bench pressing, you might be able to push, let's say 150 pounds off your chest, but you might be able to actually lower eccentrically 250 pounds. So the ARX can really adjust the weight dynamically. So it's a very time efficient workout. But back to the schedule, I'll work out on an ARX machine. I like the data driven feedback on my workouts. I will have an amazing dinner that's higher in carbs to really start to shift my body into rest and relaxation mode. All the blue light will be cut out. I'll brew some tea. I'll read a good book, spend some time with my family, and I will get down to bed, plan some goals for the following day, and get after it. At this stage, I'm very, with all the great work we're doing in the world, I'm just so fired up that I work a lot more. So it's funny because what I'm preaching to all of us should slow down a little bit. This is like some self-medicine that I could probably use myself.
Right, great. And final question is, how can our audience, or what's the best way our audience can get in touch with you?
Yeah, so a couple ways. I think if people are interested in learning more about the Fit Father Project, you can head over to fitfatherproject.com, and there are just tons of emails, links to our programs, all our articles. Just like this podcast, we have a very high traffic blog that has a lot of great content on there. My personal email, which people can absolutely feel free to reach out if they heard this and they want to connect, is Anthony@fitfatherproject.com, and that's where you can inquire about any of the stuff we talked about, and we can have some more great conversations. And the other place that I'm doing a lot of work on the entrepreneur exec side is peakperformancerx.com. So if we have show notes, I'm sure we could put some links on there, but those would be between Fit Father Project and my email and peakperformancerx.com. Those are the best places to connect with me.
Yeah, we'll definitely put those in the show notes for sure. Thank you very much for being on today, Doc. I really appreciate your time.
Likewise. Thanks for having me. This was a blast.
Yeah, it was. Absolutely. My name is Dr. Noah DeCoyer, your co-host, and you're listening to the Beyond Your Wildest Dreams podcast. If you like what you've heard today, please share this with your friends, family, and encourage them to subscribe on iTunes. A positive review goes a really long way in helping our podcast tribe grow. Currently, we're around 600,000 and growing daily. Help us help others. Thank you, and as my oldest son Hayden says, be awesome and never unawesome.